Alright, today I will go over properties of a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with four congruent sides. So this is what we call the basic definition of a rhombus. Let's go through properties. Just like a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel, which means this side parallel down here and the left side parallel with the right side. Then we have opposite sides that are congruent. I'll go more on that later. Opposite angles are congruent, which means this angle congruent right there, this angle congruent down here. Consecutive angles are still supplementary, meaning these two angles right here add up to 180 degrees, or these two angles right here add up to 180 degrees. In the rhombus, diagonals still bisect each other. So this here 5 properties of parallelograms, and then 3 extra properties for rhombus. It says the basic definition is 4 congruent sides, which means this, that, and that, all 4 sides are congruent. Alright, what also ends up happening is diagonals are perpendicular, which means we have a right angle in there. And lastly, diagonals bisect opposite angles. What it means by diagonals bisecting opposite angles is we have this angle congruent with that angle, which is congruent up here, down there. These 4 green angles are congruent. And on the other side, these 2 angles are congruent. Those 2 and those. These 4 orange angles are all congruent. So these are all your basic properties of a rhombus. Let's go through some examples. Example 1. Measure of RST is 67. Find the measure of angle RSW. So RST, this entire angle is 67 degrees. And I want to find RSW. RSW is just this green part right here. Alright. Going from property number 8, diagonals bisect opposite angles. We have here an angle bisector. This angle is bisected, so we can do 67 cut in half gets me 33.5 degrees. So that's our first property, or one of our properties, angle bisector. Alright, example 2. Find measure of angle SVT if STV is 135 degrees. STV, this full angle right here is, let me write sideways, 135 degrees. Oh, that's bad, it's upside down. Let me do it right side up. Okay. 135 degrees. Hopefully that's better to read. Sure, why not? Alright, we're trying to find SVT. SVT is asking for this green angle down here. And you're probably wondering, what does that have to do here? Now, there's plenty of different ways to solve this. First, as we know that property number 5, not property 5, property 4, consecutive angles are supplementary. These 2 angles, the purple and the orange adds up to 180 degrees. So if I do 180 minus 135, that gets me 45 degrees. This whole orange angle is 45 degrees. And then because we have an angle bisector, we can do 45 degrees divided by 2, which is 22.5 degrees. So that's one way to find STV. Second way to find STV is by recognizing that we have a right angle in here. Okay. Also, if I cut 135 in half, 135 cut in half, we bisect 135. That gets me 67.5. Yeah. Which means 67.5 is this angle right here, where my dot is 67.5. Reason I'm doing that is we have angles inside a triangle. This is 67.5, this is 90, we're trying to find the green angle. 3 angles of a triangle adds up to 180 degrees. So we can do 90 plus 67.5, which is 157.5, and then subtract that from 180. Gets me 22.5. This answer is the same as that answer. So 2 different ways to do this. The second way may look longer, but for some it's going to make more sense because we can just focus on the property of a triangle. So use whichever way works best. Alright, example 3. We have SWT is 2x plus 8. And we're finding x. Property 7, diagonals are perpendicular, which means this is a 90-degree angle. That's a 90-degree angle. We have 2x plus 8 equals my 90-degree angle. Subtract 8, subtract 8. 2x equals 82. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X equals 41 degrees. So this comes from, we have a perpendicular right angle in there. Right, number 4, find the value of x if W or V is 5x plus 5. And then WRS is 7x minus 19. Alright. So we have this bottom angle and this angle right above it. This comes from property 8, diagonals bisect opposite angles, where this angle is congruent with the angle below it. So we have again an angle bisector. What means for my equation, we have 5x plus 5 equals 7x minus 19. Solve for x. To get x equals 12. Right. So there's your 4 basic properties of rhombus. Let me go through a couple more example problems and give you a chance to work on them. Alright, I'll work on number 1. Number 1, JK is 12, JN is 7. So property of rhombus is that all four sides outside are congruent. Tick mark, tick mark, tick mark, tick mark. All of these are 12, which means JM is 12, M and MK. Next for JL, in a rhombus is still a parallelogram, which means diagonal is bisected. In a rhombus, this diagonal is congruent with that diagonal. This comes from parallelogram. Which means if this is 7, down here is also 7. JL is 7 plus 7, 14. The hard part's MN. We're trying to find this segment right here. We know this is a right angle, and that this side is 7. Down here is 12. We have a right angle. Hypotenuse is 12. One leg is 7. This is actually a Pythagorean theorem question. 7 squared plus b squared equals 12 squared. So we get b squared equals 95. Working this all out. So Mn is 9.7. Then Mk is double that. Here's my work. I did Pythagorean theorem, square root. Double that, we get 19.4. Or sorry, 19.5. Okay, so go ahead, pause this video, work on number 2. Alright, number 2, 23, DF, right here in the middle, this whole thing is 40. So GF is also 23. HF is 40 cut in half, bisected. Write my work off this side. GH is a Pythagorean theorem question. This is 20 and 23. So we have 20 squared plus b squared equals 23 squared. I can do 23 squared minus 20 squared. B squared equals 129. Square root that number. B equals 11.4, which means GH is 11.4 and GE is double that, 22.7. Alright, so Pythagorean theorem comes in here a lot because we have right angle triangles. Next up, number 4. I'll work on this. 38 degrees right here means over here angle 3 is also 38 degrees. Remember, angle bisector. Based on our properties, these 4 angles end up being the same. That means this is 38, this is 38. Now we can find one of the angles. Right angle in there. I am focusing on this top triangle. 3 angles of a triangle adds up to 180. So 90 plus 38 is 128. Subtract that from 180. Gets me 52. Which means angle 2 is 52. 52 right there. And based on our properties, these 4 angles are all the same. Which means angle 1 is 52. Angle 6 is also 52. Angle 7 is also 52. And then angle 8 is in the middle, which we know perpendicular, 90 degrees. So solving for angles. Deal with splitting it up into a triangle and also using angle bisectors. So putting all that together, here's number 5 where ZY is 34, WY is 38, and ZXY, this angle right here, is 34 degrees. Take a few minutes to solve for all of these parts. Okay, solving for them. Let's start with the easy one. WZ is 34. VY, this part right here. WY being 38 means what we can do is cut that in half. Right off to the side. 38 cut in half equals 19, which means this is 19, this is 19. And that helps me solve for VY, 19. ZV, right angle, that's a Pythagorean theorem question. 19 squared plus b squared equals 34 squared. I'm just going to show you the work. 34 squared minus 19 squared, and then square root. So 28.2. Which means ZX would be that full segment. You double it, 56.4. Then filling out the angles, WXZ, this segment or this angle, WXZ, this angle, and this angle we know are two congruent angles, so it's also 34 degrees. WVZ, this angle right here is a right angle, 90 degrees. ZYW, down here. Okay, so to find the angle down there, what I can do is, this is 34, this is 34, so altogether this full angle, 34 times 2, is 68. So we can do 180 minus 68, which gets me 112. This comes from supplementary angles. Let me erase this to make some room. This whole angle right here is 112 degrees. I can cut that in half to get 56, which tells me that this is 56. Which makes this 56 degrees, and again, this angle is bisected, so this other part right here, ZYW, is also 56 degrees. And XYW, which we already solved as 56 degrees. So recap, properties of a rhombus has the same 5 properties of a parallelogram, plus 3 extra, that your 4 sides are congruent, that your diagonals form a right angle, and that your diagonals bisect all the opposite angles.